Hi friends, it's Grace and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be talking about The Councillor, which was my September pick for Reading Booktubers Favourite Books. And so this recommendation came from Johan at Library of a Viking. And Johan's channel is great, and I love that he recommended me this because we will hear from him in a minute. But I think one of the main reasons that he recommended this is just because it is not as well known of a book on BookTube. And so I read this, I'm ready to talk to you about it, and yeah, we'll get right into his recommendation clip.
Hi Grace, thank you so much for choosing a book that I recommended. I mean, the honor is truly mine. And when I heard that I was getting an opportunity to recommend a book to another booktuber, I thought I should recommend something that is quite unknown, a true hidden gem, which is why I recommended The Councillor by E.J. Beaton. I mean, this book is truly underrated, and is to this date one of my favorite books. I mean, this book is phenomenal. If you enjoy political fantasy, or as the publisher calls it, a Machiavellian fantasy, is a big word, isn't it? This is not a typical fantasy where you have like huge battles or dragons falling down on castles or trolls or ghosts or whatever. Rather, there is a lot of tension in the dialogue here, and it is absolutely masterfully done. So if you enjoy fantasy books where the tension is in the dialogue, where there is amazing politics and also beautiful writing and terrific characterizations, then I can't recommend The Councillor enough. My only real criticism is that this book only has like 15 chapters, so the chapters are seriously long, but except for the chapter length, this book is a must read, and I'm so glad that more booktubers are finally reading this book. Thank you so much for having me on the channel, and I really hope you'll enjoy this book as much as I did.
Okay, so I just love what Johan said about why he loves this book, and I agree with so much of it. But in order for you to see my experience reading this book, we are just going to jump straight into the vlog clips now. Hello. So today is the day that I'm going to start The Councillor by E.J. Beaton. You already knew that because we're partway through the video, but this is just my official update saying that I will be starting this today, and I may have another update today as well, depending on how far I get through. This is not a super long book, so I have a feeling that maybe I'll be updating every 50 pages or so, or maybe whenever I just have something to say. So I'm past page 50 of The Councillor now, and I am definitely tentatively enjoying the beginning, but I would say that I'm still kind of feeling out the vibe of what the book is going to be. So I'm not 100% like set on a feeling yet, but I like the main character. And another thing that I really like from the beginning is the like queer nature or like queer normative nature of the world. And I hope that we get to explore that a little bit more, because it does seem like we'll focus on some interpersonal relationships, so I think that would be really cool. Okay, I am 150 pages into The Councillor, so I have another update, which is just a general update, but I am quite enjoying this. I think that the one thing that I would say that puts me off just slightly is that the chapters are really long, and that's not inherently a bad thing, but I think that when I think about the events that are actually happening, I have no problem with the pacing, but like 30-page chapters just make things feel a little bit more drawn out, and maybe I just need that like pacing break to make me feel like I'm going faster. I'm not exactly sure, but I am still liking it. It's just that like it feels like slightly more of a slog, and that sounds harsh because it doesn't actually feel like a slog, but it just makes it feel slower. But other than that, I'm really enjoying the main character of Lysand. I really like the kind of relationships that she reflects on, like past relationships, and I do find it interesting the way that she interacts with like the new characters in the present, and I do find it very refreshing to follow a character that is clearly very intelligent, but that is communicated to us mainly through like thoughts and actions rather than just like telling us that she is. And like the internal struggles with kind of the denial of an addiction that she clearly has, and it is very interesting. So there's a lot of things that I'm really enjoying, and I'm hoping that I continue to enjoy it and to not feel so much of that slowness. Hello! So I am 280 pages into The Councillor now, or about that. So over halfway, and the good news is that it has definitely been gaining momentum for me. I find myself enjoying it more and more the more that I read, so that's obviously awesome news. There were a few positives that I wanted to point out. So I really like how this world is being built, and I like how it is a subtle matriarchy, where it's not overwhelmingly so, and it's also not shoved in your face either, but it's just that you start to realize that there are some more subtle clues that women hold a lot of power in relationships and things like that, and women certainly hold positions of power, whether that would be queen or councillor or captain in a military sense. So, and men hold these positions too, but it is very much I think slightly leaning towards a sort of a female-driven society in a lot of ways, and the women that we are introduced to as characters are very interesting characters, and we're learning more about the history of some things. And another positive that I wanted to point out was how reveals and information are dealt in this book, because I think that E.J. Beaton is doing a good job of balancing a dramatic reveal with sort of the flow of the story, if that makes sense. It doesn't feel juvenile or melodramatic when something is announced, or not announced, but revealed, but it also feels you can feel the impact of information that is learned, and you know how important these revelations are to the story going forward. And that's kind of equivalent to our main character overall. I really like her, and seeing as she is a scholar and has this position of power where she is supposed to choose a new ruler, she is overall a very measured, intelligent person, and I think that just equates to the way that she makes her decisions and stuff. The whole book kind of has that feeling to it. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I'm not sure when I'll update next, because I'm going to read again at work tonight, and I'll get as much done as I can, but yeah, I'm feeling very good about it right now. I'm somewhere around 345 pages in to The Councillor right now, so I only have 95 pages left. We're very much getting to the home stretch, and I continue to think that this book is building for me. It improves as it goes, which is a very pleasant experience, just because not that I wasn't liking it at the beginning, I was, but it was much more of a casual feeling, and my feelings have grown more positive throughout. And I think it's a very quietly good book. I think that looking back, I can really appreciate the internal kind of metamorphosis that the character has gone throughout this book. And obviously I won't say what a reveal actually was, but after a reveal that we got around the time that I last updated you, I really like the internal monologue and discussion that has happened in light of this new information for Lysand, our main character, and the way that she has dealt with it internally and externally, how it has shaped her thoughts and her behaviors. And I'm really intrigued to see how this is going to end, because it is obviously moving towards a certain climax that needs to, it's like a confrontation between two parties that needs to happen, and we have some mysteries throughout that need to be solved in terms of who we can trust and who we can't based on the other rulers that she is interacting with. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how that is resolved. So I'm probably at this point not going to update until the end of the book, but I just thought that now, since we're very much in this waiting period and the calm before the storm at the end of the book, I would just do one final update, and we'll see how it ends. Okay, so looking back, obviously I'll find out if I'm wrong when I go back and review the vlog clips, but I don't think I ever actually filmed a concluding clip for this book. I did the one where I was ready to read the ending, I was prepared for the climax of the book, but I don't remember talking about my final thoughts, and obviously that's what this part of the video is for, but just to get it out of the way, I really did enjoy this, and I gave it 4.5 stars, and it was a really strong book, and I'm so happy that I'm so happy that I've read it. And so I had heard of this book. So E.J. Beaton is the author. I don't think I mentioned her name, but I had heard of this book when Johan recommended it. And if I'm remembering correctly, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the only other person I've heard talk about it is Elliot Brooks. And this was a while ago. And so this was sort of like shelved away on my books that looked interesting, but they kind of fell under the radar because maybe nobody else was like talking about it and like encouraging other people to read it, and so I kind of just forgot that I had heard of it and that it sounded interesting. And so that's like part of what this series is for me to kind of like connect with another booktuber in a way that I want to experience what they experienced as a favorite. And I am so totally in agreement that this is one of the underrated gems that's out there that is just not really talked about on BookTube. And so I am here to add my voice to, I'm sure there are more people, but to add my voice to Elliot and Johan in saying that I do think that more people should read this because it really was a well-crafted book. So the obviously basic premise of the book is that we have our main character who is, she's a scholar, and so that is her role until the events of the book kick off when she is named to a more powerful position of Councillor, and the role of the Councillor is to choose a new ruler from among like a field of candidates, and like kind of weighing each of them and deciding who is going to take over the vacuum of power that has been left by the death of the previous ruler. And obviously this is a very important position, and our main character is a very intelligent woman and a very like kind of like clever and strong-willed and very interesting, fleshed out character. But one thing that to this point in her life she has not experienced is having her own kind of power. Like, she has not been in a position of power. She was a well-regarded scholar and her opinion was well-regarded, but she didn't have power in the sense of being able to make decisions for a city and for a kingdom, which is a completely new experience for obviously most people until they're put in that position. And so this is a really interesting exploration of that. And I really liked the one thing that Johan said was about the tension that is achieved in this book through dialogue, and in my kind of opinion, like quieter means rather than action and like bombastic, like I don't know, conflict. It's a quieter sort of conflict where you have political intrigue, but you have a lot of like, I guess it could be viewed as slower paced, but it is sort of diplomatic and people visiting each other's cities and centers of power and like making agreements. But there is an outside threat that is looming, and nobody exactly knows when this threat could fall and who could possibly be working inside of this country that is actually like a spy for the enemy. So that is sort of where our conflict lies, where our main character, Lisande, is trying to choose a new ruler, but she doesn't know if she can trust all of the current rulers of other city-states. She doesn't know who could potentially be working against them, and there is like a through line of mystery throughout. We're waiting to hear, or we're waiting to figure out, or we're waiting for the other shoe to drop where somebody might expose themselves as being like a traitor. And there is also the important element of like prejudice and subjugation of magical peoples in this world, and that is hugely implicated in the plot because there are a group of people, anybody that has magical powers in this world, they are called elementals, and they, obviously this is not a completely new concept. The elementals each have command of one of the elements. We don't see like a ton of it in action, but from what I understand, it would either be like air, fire, water, and then I presume also earth, but there are also like gifts of the mind that some elementals can also have, which are understandably very like scary to other people, but at the same time, like this is very much a world where elementals have been like jailed and executed and just persecuted for their existence, whether they were a threat or not. So there is a huge layer to that, where this world is going to be in turmoil until something can be figured out, like where you have a ruler that's not just going to continue the crusade, basically. So yeah, there were a lot of really interesting things about this. It does make me a little bit sad that there is no concrete news on a sequel to this. It sort of stands by itself. Like, one thing that I really enjoyed was that I didn't think that E.J. Beaton got too like ambitious in this first book, in the sense that there is very much like hints at a larger storyline that will come into play in a sequel if it comes out, but at the same time, like, she restrained herself to a smaller storyline in this one so that we felt the impact more of the interpersonal relationships. So I really loved that. I also loved that this society was sort of like low-key female dominated, and I also loved how like queer normative it was, and none of this is really I don't know, I don't want to say it's not given any weight, but none of it is alluded to in terms of like, look what we have here. It's literally just like the way things are in the book, which is something that I really enjoyed. I thought she did a really good job with that. And yeah, I just thought that the characters were fascinating. The plot was really, like it took maybe, I want to say like 50 to 100 pages for me to get a grasp on what direction we were going and like what our goals were, but those first like 50 to 100 pages weren't uninteresting. I wasn't sure yet what we were doing. And one thing that Johan mentioned, which honestly is my only complaint about this book, is the length of the chapters. That is the only thing that I can point to and say that it like decreased my enjoyment a little bit, because they are quite long. A lot of them are 30 to 40 pages, even upwards of 40 for like one of the chapters, and it's just really like, it's just really long. Like it threw off the pacing for me in parts of the book, because sometimes like things and plot points would be happening, but it just feels like there's a natural breaking point, but then we're still going. And I'm somebody that likes to stop on a chapter break, and whatever it is I want to do, whether I want to like do a chore in the house or whether I want to like literally do anything, I don't want to stop in the middle of a chapter if I don't have to. And then when the chapters are really long, it just makes me feel like they're really long and like it's a little bit slower. But that's it. Like the content itself, I pretty much have no complaints about it. I thought that it was really, really good. It was just the pacing was affected a little bit by that. So again, like this is a 4.5 stars. It was a great book. I do really look forward to news on a sequel, so I'll be keeping my eye out for that, even though I'm terrible at keeping up with book releases. But if I hear about a sequel for this, I will absolutely be interested in it and be picking it up whenever I can. So yeah, this was a very successful installment of Reading Booktubers Favorites. So thank you so much to Johan at Library of a Viking for this recommendation. Of course, I'll have his channel linked in the description. I should have mentioned that earlier, but you know, he's more well known than me, but if you're not following him, then please do go check his channel out. And yeah, I believe that is all I have to say about The Councillor by E.J. Beaton. I just held that up for the whole time. I don't know why. So yeah, basically the gist is that I would definitely recommend this book. And if you have read it, let me know down in the comments what you think, or even if I've convinced you that you should read it, let me know. I think that it has the potential to be a really popular book if more people that are into this sort of story can give it the love that it deserves. So please like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more from me. As always, I will have my Discord and socials linked in the description if you're interested in any of that stuff, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye!